Isn't it about time for somebody's favorite radio program?
This is America's Outdoor Talk program.
Are you ready to get rowdy?
Outdoors This Week with your host, Alex Langer. Alex Langer. We've got fishing.
Believe me, folks, I have been there, and the fishing has been tremendous.
Hiking.
Adios. Have a nice trip.
Camping.
This is a real adventure.
How do you know?
When you're an experienced woodsman like me, you get a feel for these things.
Oh, really?
Heck, we've even got kayaking.
I'm going to show you kids the time of your life.
We've got all the info you need for a safe and fun day in the sun.
It's a darn good thing we found you when we did. There's something horrible roaming these woods.
And you've got Outdoors This Week. Outdoors This Week. And now, here's your host, Alex Langer.
Why, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How did that man know that I was going to be on today?
I kind of called him up and told him.
All right. So
Sorry.
it was you.
It was me. It's my bad.
You. Yeah. All right, folks. We have a very, very special guest today with us. Most notable fishing experts are stereotyped. They're stereotyped by species like bass, walleye, muskie, and even panfish. But we have somebody today that actually breaks the mold. He's a touring walleye fishing professional. He enjoys hooking crappie through the ice as much as walleyes in a raging river. And his acute ability to share this multi-species knowledge with others makes this guy an even more significant asset to the fishing world. Who am I talking about? It's none other than Tommy Skarli. Tommy is a native of Iowa, and his first fishing memory was hooking a bluegill while fishing with his mother. You know, it's kind of like mine is, too. And he continued honing his fishing skills on Clear Lake, Iowa. That's where Buddy Holly met his fate there. And he fishes the Mississippi River, its backwaters, and small lakes, farm ponds, and expansive reservoirs throughout the Midwest. Now, let me tell you about his tournament fishing history. In 1996, Skarli joined in Fisherman's Professional Walleye Trail. He has since thundered through the circuits. I'm not sure what that means exactly, but he's won the prestigious PWT Angler of the Year title in 2004. He snatched 23. That's 23 top 10 finishes, and he captured several Big Fish awards, qualifying for the PWT Championship 13 straight times. Skarli earned the following nicknames: Mr. Erie. I'm not sure I would want that nickname. Mr. April, by winning the first PWT event of both in 2001 in the Detroit River and in 2002 on Lake Erie. And then we have all of our usual suspects. We have Ron Lindner, who's going to be talking about God knows what. We should just have Tommy call and imitate Ron. Shouldn't we do that? And
I think so.
Then we have Larry Whiteley, who is your personal favorite. I'm not going to tell the other guys that. And then we have Sammy Lee and Wade Bourne. All of them have tremendous fishing reports for us. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hang tight. More of America's Outdoor Talk program, Outdoors This Week, after this.
Hi, folks. Ron Linder here for Linder's Angling Edge Television. Seeing it all over the country on Saturdays on WFN. That's a Canadian channel. Also, we're on some Christian channels here and there, peppered across the country, particularly on the Cornerstone Network. You can watch any of our shows on the web by going to Linder Media. You can see all our 2012 shows on lindermedia.com. Go to the web. They're immediately downloadable and available. Okay, what's happening in Minnesota? Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. The nature fakers are at it. And why? One of the great causes of it, they always can get a lot of money for this: wolves. They delisted the wolf. They put the wolf on the list that you can hunt them. Right now in the Twin Cities, you go to Minneapolis, St. Paul, big billboards, huge billboards: save the wolf, the da-da wolf, don't torture wolves, the da-da-da, all this stuff. Also, articles popping up in the paper, my own paper right here, which I live up in in not a wilderness, but a very rural area. And there was an article in there. Let's not, you could tell that it came from one of these organizations. Let us not ruin our ecotourism, because if we have wolf hunting here, people won't want to come to Minnesota for ecotourism. And I'm trying to figure this out. Who in the world writes this stuff? If you had 1 million people come here on an ecotourism tour, I guarantee you not one of them would ever see a wolf in the wild. If they maybe had one staked out with a chain someplace and driven into the ground that they could use as a fake or maybe a silhouette of one, you might be able to see something. But you don't see these critters. They're there. I see them once in a while in an extremely remote area down a river over here there's an army preserve where it's called Fort Ripley, Camp Ripley, and it's a very wild area. Nobody goes there, and occasionally, especially lately, we've been seeing them in fall. In fall, when the deer are moving around, occasionally you'll see one or two. I saw 2 or 3 last year, and that's only in that one area. Most of the time, we don't see them. So ecotourism-wise, this is the biggest bunch of baloney in God's green world. Anyway, they're letting them hunt them, and debates with the use of dogs to hunt wolves, not in Minnesota, but in Wisconsin, which is next door over here. As Wisconsin prepares for its first wolf hunt season, hunting groups will say using dogs to track wolves are essential to success. But animal welfare advocates say the state needs to do more to protect the dogs from the potential deadly confrontation with the wolves. That's probably got some truth to it. So, a Dane County judge, who they got a hold of, who fell for them, temporarily has banned the use of these dogs and will hold a hearing on Friday. This is where the nature fakers, they got these judges all in these places set up. Long time ago, they said you could hunt the wolves. There are plenty of wolves. There are, and I mentioned this before, in the state that I live in, there's lots of them. And if I ever see a wolf in my backyard, and it, by the way, it is not unlikely, but if I do see one with my grandchildren, believe me, I'm dusting them. I ain't calling the Department of Natural Resources. He's getting buried. Oh, it's that fast. They do this out on the farms out here, out west. There's a lot of cattle where they got, heifers, little doggies over there, and these wolves do. There ain't a lot of them, so, it isn't a big deal. There are 100 a year, maybe, that get knocked down by a wolf. And once a wolf gets on a farm and he gets on the herd of cattle, he will stay there. It's free lunch, and they'll stay on them pretty good. Remember, these babies can bring down a moose, and they do. A pack of wolves can bring down a moose. This is why protection is one thing. In my backyard, if there's anything, I don't want to pay a $1 zillion fine because I'm protecting my own land. And the people in the cities, the nature fakers, don't understand this. They simply do not. Well, that's it for now from Ron Linder. See you later, folks.
Pre-rut elk coming up on Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World.
Would you like to spend less time on the couch and more time in the fresh air? Would you like your kids to stare at a bobber instead of the TV? Would you gladly trade in your microwave for a Dutch oven? Then you belong at Bass Pro Shops. Every week, we offer free skills workshops to help you get started. See the store or go to BassPro.com for more information. Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here.
When you're hunting elk before the rut in early September and there's hot weather, expect elk to move and feed for a couple of hours during the day if it cools off or after a rain. Hunt near food sources, travel lanes, watering sites, and bedding areas. Elk seek relief from late summer and early fall heat on high open slopes, in low areas holding cool air, in shaded forest or near water. Now look for elk on east-facing slopes and conifer trees with the bottom branches gone that allow cool winds to blow through, and in shaded creek bottoms. Now because bulls are establishing dominance at this time, they may be willing to fight. Use the sounds and scent of a cow or try a bull challenging another bull. You can use the bugle to locate and attract the bull, Once the bull comes in, use cow calls, grunts, and glugging to convince him there's a young bull with a cow by using estrus and bull scent. Folks, the great outdoors. Pass it on. I'm Larry Whiteley, and this is Bass Pro Shop's Outdoor World.
Why, thank you, Larry, for that wonderful report. And Lynn is still holding a torch for you.
I am.
You are, Lynn.
I am.
Despite the other Southern gentlemen, she still has a special place for Larry Whiteley in her heart.
He's my favorite.
I won't tell the other Southern gentlemen.
No, don't do that.
Listen. I'm excited because we have a very special guest with us today. Most fishing experts are stereotyped by a species, like bass, like Paul Elias, who we just talked to. He's a bass guy.
He's a bass guy.
And, there's walleye guys, there's muskie guys, there's even panfish guys. I bet you didn't know that.
No.
They were panfish experts. But my next guest breaks the mold. He breaks the mold because he is a multi-species angler who has the ability to share his multi-species knowledge with others, and that makes him even more significant to the fishing world. This guy's name is none other than Tommy Skarli. Tommy is a walleye pro, but he also fishes for every other species, and he is here with us now. Without any further ado, and also he does the best Ron Lindner.
The best one ever. He does it better than Ron.
He does it better than Ron. I agree. Tommy, welcome to the show.
It even confuses me, myself. How you doing, guys?
Was that Tommy or was that Ron?
I don't know.
That was Tommy doing Ron.
Tommy,
I got to be careful though, because I don't want to, I don't want to get sued. If he lawyered up, he's a pretty big boy. He could get me in trouble. So
that's right.
No.
You don't want Ron Lindner lawyering up. That would be a bad scene.
I don't think we're pretty good friends.
You don't want to be in Ron Lindner's crosshairs. That's my understanding. I mean, I know it firsthand, but that's what I get from all of his friends and enemies.
And I don't think he has many enemies. The Linders are pretty well loved, but it's always fun to imitate people, and it's kind of a little hobby of mine. And I do Al, and I do a couple other people in the industry, but Ron's easy.
Do Al.
Al?
Yeah.
I think Tommy Skarli has probably imitated Ron 4, 5, 10, 12, 18 times.
That is him.
So I was going to call you Ron. Tommy, what are you doing these days? Tell me about your life.
Well, things are pretty awesome right now. I fish so I can afford to hunt. And right now I'm getting ready for fall fishing. I've got a couple of championships coming up with the Masters Walleye Circuit Championship. I've got the FLW Walleye Tour Championship. I've got 2 Walleye Angler Trail events on the Mississippi River here. It's pretty much all river. And I just got done shooting a television show with Steve Panaz about a week ago here, and it's called Lake Commandos. And I'm telling Steve, he's like, well, what's next? I'm like, well, I'm going to go home, and I'm going to go get my boat river ready. I'm going to get the Ranger River ready, the Triple R Theory. And I've got all kinds of Mississippi River coming up, and I'm really excited about it. On top of that, Iowa youth season for deer starts next weekend, and Jake's ready to go after a buck. He got a doe last year, and we're really having a lot of fun, enjoying the outdoors, living here in Northeast Iowa.
Jake is your son, right?
Jake is, I got 2 boys, an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and Jake's the older of the 2, and Nicky's got to wait till next year before he starts picking up the muzzleloader.
Right. Tell me about your favorite lakes and techniques from the past season on the FLW Tour.
Well, it's really crazy. The learning curve, there's been a couple of pros that quit in the last 10 years, and they've said, well, the reason that I quit is the learning curve stopped. And I can't see it. I am so excited about all the new stuff.
What do they mean by that?
That they quit learning. That it was just same old techniques, same old strategies, and a lot of the techniques that you see in fishing, we forget about, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a lot in the show. But there's a lot of stuff that I learned 30 years ago that is brand new to other people.
Right.
There are things I've been learning that people have known for 30 years that are brand new to me.
Right.
And the learning curve for me keeps going
it actually exponentially keeps growing, Alex. And I'm pretty fired up. You know, you'd asked me about some of my favorite moments, lakes, techniques. I won at Red Wing, Minnesota on the Mississippi River in the inaugural or the first FLW Walleye Tour event of the year. And in that one, I was pulling double Rapala minnows and double Salmo minnows, and I was also jigging with the great big new Power Ripple shads from Berkeley. And what was exciting about that victory is that the wing dam fishing that I'm doing is similar to some of the stuff I did growing up, but it's evolved now. And so it's on my home body of water where I grew up fishing with my old buddy named Cooter, that he taught me how to jig without a depth finder, without anything. And now I've got all this technology, and I win the event there on the river, and it was very exciting.
Tommy, hold that thought. We're going to leave everybody on the edge of their chair. It's a little radio trick that I've perfected, and we'll come back right after the break. All right, Tommy?
Beautiful.
All right, we'll be back with Tommy Skarli right after this.
Hey, what do you think you're doing? Don't change that dial. Alex will be right back with more of Outdoors This Week after these messages.
Hold on to that, and that's a good one since 1984. Tight Lines with Sammy Lee.
For the last few days, Stan Fagerstrom has been telling us how every fisherman can improve their casting accuracy. Hello, this is Sammy Lee. In just a moment, I'll conclude my visit with Stan by hearing how you can be proficient with spinning tackle. But first, this message.
You enjoy your time on the water, but you probably don't think too much about why you enjoy it so. Maybe that's because you get there safely using a boat trailer equipped by Unique Functional Products. UFP manufactures the axles, brake lines, and braking systems used on America's best recreational vehicle trailers. Unique Functional Products goes in before their name goes on. So enjoy your trip. And remember, at UFP, your family's safety means as much to us as it does to you. Unique Functional Products, from people dedicated to making things happen.
Over the last several days, casting expert Stan Fagerstrom has been sharing some of his tips on how to become more proficient with our casting. And during this time, Stan has spent a great amount of time discussing the use of spin casting and bait casting rods and reels. But how about spinning equipment? Can a person learn to be accurate with these?
You do much the same thing that you do with a level line reel. What I do when I line up on a target to achieve accuracy, now certainly you're going to depart from some of these procedures as you gain experience, but in the beginning it's just like playing around to golf. You have to learn how to hold the club and everything else. Same thing is true of practicing your fishing. I face my target, I take a nice relaxed stance so I feel comfortable. And Sammy, I get my rod and reel out in front of my body, and I don't care whether it's a bait casting outfit or a spinning outfit. I get it out in front of my body. I rotate my wrist to the left just a bit so my knuckles are up, reel handles up, because that unlocks the wrist joint. Now I draw an imaginary line from my nose to the target. And when I cast, I make my rod walk right up and down that line. No way possible I'm going to be off left or right. You won't be either. But what does a beginner do? You watch. The rod comes clear back over his shoulder. Something lost their aiming point. Lord knows where that plug's going to land. But if they'll keep the outfit out in front of their body, draw that imaginary line from the nose to the target, bingo, they're going to be right in line with that thing.
No matter what type of rod and reel they're using?
That's right. It'll be slight differences between all three of them, but those differences are minor.
Well, having watched and learned from Stan Fagerstrom for a number of years, I can attest to what this man says and does. I hope that some of Stan Fagerstrom's casting tips help you become a better angler. I'm Sammy Lee, and until next time, Tight Lines.
Tight Lines, brought to you by SpectraBurst, the ultimate color-changing technology. HuntMate, the best hunting app for your iPhone. By UFP, America's leading maker of brake systems for boat trailers. And by Bleeding Belly's Lures, the bait that actually changes color.
Thanks, Sammy Lee. And I think I actually learned something from that report, Lynn.
That's cool.
I draw a line from your nose to where you want to cast.
That's really cool. I never thought about that.
I didn't either. How about that, Tommy? Tommy Skarli is on the line with us, and Tommy is a multi-species angler. He's not stereotyped like everybody else is. He's not just a bass, a walleye, or muskie guy, or even panfish guy. Tommy Skarli breaks the mold. He's a touring walleye pro who enjoys hooking crappies through the ice as much as walleyes in a raging river. This acute ability to share his multi-species knowledge with others makes Skarli even more significant to the fishing world, and he's our guest today. Aren't you lucky? Tommy, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for saying yes to us. We were talking about the technology in fishing now. How does that compare to what you call simple fishing?
Well, fishing has gotten pretty technological, and there's been some great new advancements in fishing. The ones that I've been using a lot lately and have found awfully, interesting would be AquaView. They've been making underwater cameras for years. They've got a new handheld camera right now called the Micro that's the size of a smartphone.
Really?
So instead of now getting out the boat anchor, which the older cameras were big and cumbersome,
right,
and you'd have to stop the whole process, this thing you can pull out of your pocket. It's got a lens on it or a camera the size of an acorn, and boom, you can drop it right down in the water and start looking around with the Micro.
Is it as good as the original AquaView?
It's the original AquaView company. It's actually changed hands. There's a new owner a couple of new owners that are up in Minnesota yet, the land of fishing.
Right.
And but it's a lot smaller than the old ones. The old ones used to fit the size of a small briefcase.
I remember those. I mean, they worked fine, but the cumbersome nature of them was definitely a hindrance.
It was like an anchor, So now with this new Micro, if you want to know what's down there,
right.
We've even had an instance where a buddy of ours dropped a pair of his prescription sunglasses down an ice hole. So we drilled a hole right next to it, dropped the camera down the hole next to it, and then in turn we were able to see the sunglasses. And so then we dropped a lure down the hole he originally dropped him down in, snagged the glasses, and reeled them back up to the top of the surface, and got him back with a camera. So, I mean, it's got all kinds of uses.
Wow.
And we called it an anchor. Well, getting out the boat anchor also seems to be a chore. You got to have a good back. You got to put it in the water. You got to pull it out. You got to wash it off. Well, now with Minn Kota, they've actually got on a Tarova or any other autopilot trolling motor system, they've actually got the new Minn Kota system where they've got an anchor feature on their autopilot motors. So you can actually run up onto a spot, hit that anchor button, and in turn, that motor will keep you right on that GPS coordinate while you fish a spot.
Wow.
So no longer do you have to worry about playing a fish and drifting off the school or, getting out of the way. And what it's called is it's Minn Kota's iPilot feature.
Yeah.
It's actually an add-on that you can add onto your existing Minn Kota Tarovas and other trolling motors. And it's just a phenomenal feature to get out the boat anchor without getting out the boat anchor.
Is it a software feature, Tommy?
Yes, it's an additional add-on. I think retail it's like $399, a little bit over $400. But trolling motors nowadays are up over $1,000 for a trolling motor. But the price of an anchor, the ability to fish things the way you want to fish them, it's got 3 tracks that you can run. So I can store 3 trolling passes on this trolling motor and go back, and without having to run the motor, I can let the boat do the trolling for me.
Wow.
And,
that's kind of whiz-bang stuff that we only dreamed about back 20, 30 years ago.
Well, and it's grown. Technology has made fishing go a lot faster than most of us might have wanted to, but it's also helped us. I mean, one of the biggest keys to my success over the last 10 years has been Navionics cartography.
Right.
And where you actually have a map on your electronic unit through a chip that you've purchased through Navionics. And what everybody always used to get hung up with is they'd have to wait till the next map came out.
Yeah.
I'm waiting till the next map comes out. And now Navionics has freshest data to where you can go to their website and download the new mapping data that's free of charge within 1 year purchase of a Navionics chip. So no more waiting for the technology. You can get it on a weekly basis, and it's free when you do that.
So how often do they update the information?
There's updates going on there daily.
Really?
So pretty simple. You plug in your chip, you look at the Navionics website, and it says, okay, there are updates available for your chip, and then you download them, and boom, you're back out fishing. Now, we talked about fishing being technologically advanced, but you also mentioned something about simple fishing.
Right. What are your views on simple fishing?
Well, my views on simple fishing is sometimes we have to be careful about getting too technologically advanced.
Yeah.
And that was great to where you said you had learned something with Stan and Sammy Lee talking there on tight lines. And you know what? He had it. That's a point that I forgot on how to cast. Now casting comes naturally
right.
for me and for you.
You don't think about it anymore. But, if I were to think about it, that's a great piece of advice.
I think he did it a lot better than I could do it, teaching somebody how to cast, because I forgot how I cast. I just cast. But
that's right. You don't even think about it anymore.
No, and the biggest thing is people get hung up on technology. It's great that I've got my AquaView camera. It's great that I've got my iPilot on my Minn Kota, and it's great that I've got Navionics Fresh data. But sometimes we get hung up on technology, and we don't put a line in the water. So we're playing with our whiz-bangs and our gizmos. And my sentiment that I've been expressing is just get out on the water and get a line in the water. And I'll take it a step further. My wife will not fish with me because it's too technologically advanced.
Wow.
So with the two boys that are 6 and 8, my wife and myself, and us trying to find more family and better family things to do on the weekend other than bitty basketball and other stuff that I don't think the kids have been enjoying lately.
Tommy, we got to take a break, but would you come back for another segment?
I really want to.
All right.
I want to talk about the Nightcrawler.
All right. We'll talk about the Nightcrawler when we get back, and we'll be right back with Tommy Skarli. Don't go away.
More of America's favorite outdoor talk program, Outdoors This Week, after these messages.
Gel coat sparkle, she's my waterproof Caroline. Should see her out on the flats. I got high-tech equipment, rods and reels and lines. Brand new pickup that I bought from a friend of mine that I financed online.
When deer season comes in, the more hunting pressure deer are subjected to, the less visible they become. This was the main finding of a recent study in Oklahoma conducted by Dr. Steve Damaris at Mississippi State University. He learned that when hunters show up, the bucks especially head into dense cover. I'm Wade Bourne, and this is Wired to Hunt Radio. In a minute, Dr. Damaris sheds light on the perennial question, where did all the deer go?
Stay with us. Wade will be right back.
Hey hunters, I've been using a product that you need to see. A gun rest so small you keep it in a pocket until needed. When getting ready to shoot, hook it to a tree limb or whatever is available. Why carry a stick? I like this compact concept so much I put a video of it on my website, WadeBourneOutdoors.com, for you to watch. See for yourself why Little Sure Shot has become the #1 selling compact gun rest worldwide. That's WadeBourneOutdoors.com or Google Little Sure Shot gun rests. Cabela's is the world's foremost outfitter for hunting, fishing, camping, and outdoor gear. They offer more gear than anybody, best selection, prices, and quality, all backed by Cabela's legendary guarantee. Shopping with Cabela's has never been easier or more convenient. You can outfit all your needs through Cabela's catalogs, website, and their many stores. Check them out at Cabela's.com. Cabela's, the world's foremost outfitter.
This is Wired to Hunt Radio.
Dr. Steve Damaris' research study in Oklahoma involved putting GPS collars on several deer and then tracking their movements when the hunting season opened. They did so on 3 1,500-acre tracts. One tract had no hunting pressure, one had very light pressure, and one had relatively heavy hunting pressure. Here's what he learned.
We found that the bucks at that higher hunter density significantly altered their movement patterns associated with the hunting season. And they become much more invisible on the higher density and with time after the beginning of the season. So it's really interesting and exciting.
I asked Dr. Damaris, what's the practical application in this for deer hunters wherever they hunt?
The hunter density is critical. If you have too many hunters on a property, you will make the deer become invisible. Keep your hunter density low. And also, when they also started changing the habitat that they utilize in response to the hunters, they became much more effective at using denser habitat. So they shifted from more open habitat to heavier, denser habitat, and so that helped them become invisible.
Tomorrow, Dr. Steve Damaris returns with more interesting facts from this deer study he conducted in Oklahoma. And that's today's Wired to Hunt Radio. I'm Wade Bourne saying thanks for listening. Get outside.
Thanks, Wade. And I always learn things about fishing from listening to Wade Bourne's hunting tips So we have with us Tommy Skarli. Tommy is a notable fishing expert who breaks the mold. He's not typecast in bass or walleye or muskie or even panfish. He breaks the mold. He teaches everybody everything there is to know about fishing. Did I get that right, Tommy?
Well, I try to. I try to teach everybody everything there is to know. I think I know it all.
I think you do know it all. That's why we keep having you back. We haven't figured out that you don't know it all.
Well, I tell you, in fishing is a lot of times what you know, and sometimes fishing is just what the fish knows and trying just to feed a fish. And
right.
It's pretty basic.
Right. Before we went to the break, you want to talk about the night crawler. What is the night crawler?
Well, worms, night crawlers, whatever you want to call them. It's ironic that a lot of times these worms get shipped down here from Canada.
Right.
And then we buy the night crawlers and we go fishing with them. And if we go back up to Canada, we have to take them out of the dirt they came in and we have to put them in bedding because it's illegal to take dirt now across the border.
I didn't know that. Why is it illegal to take dirt?
Well, with invasives and junk like that, they're worried about contaminants coming back through in the soil, and the bedding actually eliminates a lot of those opportunities.
So I remember like 30, 40 years ago, we used to use Weber bedding. We still use that today?
I don't know if that's still available. I know that there's bus bedding. There's also some stuff from Freybill that they've got out right now. I can't remember the name, but it feeds the crawlers, and it's bedding nowadays for night crawlers has food in it.
Right.
And I keep telling them, hey, man, you got to come up with a bedding that's got power bait or gulp scent in it because then you can scent your crawlers. But, the night crawler is a pretty basic tool to use. And I'm catching a ton of walleyes, bass, bluegills on just a half a night crawler or a piece of night crawler. And the biggest key is to back up the night crawler. And what I mean by that is if I'm jigging, I've got on a night crawler for scent. I'm also going to use some type of scented plastic or artificial like power bait or gulp in order to give myself what I call double confidence and double power.
Live bait doesn't have enough scent?
What I like to do is I like to use it for both confidence, and I like to give them both a couple of options. The night crawler might get picked off, and that's the disadvantage of using live bait, is that it's easily pulled off the hook by a fish.
Right.
But if you've got a power bait, say a power bait ripple shad or grub on there, or if you've got a gulp alive minnow, they may pull off your minnow, but they've still got that artificial scented shape still on the hook, and therefore, your success rate climbs. And what it's going to do is artificials catch a lot of fish. In fact, the bass circuits, unlike the walleye circuits, are all artificial.
Right.
And you can't use live bait. So what it does is it gives your average angler the confidence that's always fished live bait to switch and make that switch by all of a sudden realizing, hey, that fish picked off my night crawler, but I still had gulp on there, and he ate it.
Right.
But, sometimes it's hard to fool Mother Nature, and it's hard to fool fish, Alex, and it's hard to beat a swimming minnow or a wriggling crawler sometimes.
I think also in bass fishing that the scent is not as quite important as color, action, and motion. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I agree entirely. I mean, you've done a whole study on it. Your career is founded on scientific fact of what fish want to eat with a lot of the lures that you've developed. Yeah. And, you go into this with bass fishing, it is a lot of sight-oriented to where you get into catfishing and walleye fishing, and then you've got a lot of flavor or scent, actually them using different olfactory senses other than just the...
Catfishing is almost all scent. Then you got walleye, and then you got bass on the other end, where scent is almost not a factor.
Correct. And kind of a neat segue on this, or a neat way to go from one subject to the other that I wanted to talk about. Getting back to the basics, we've got a lot of super lines, and they work great in bass fishing. They work tremendous in walleye fish. Lines like Fireline and Power, some of the different Spiderwire Stealth and some of those different super lines that they've got out nowadays. I use a lot for vertical jigging. I use a lot in situations where I need more sensitivity or more feel. But good old monofilament line, I think it's time for a lot of anglers to get back to the basics. I grew up fishing with Trilene XL and Trilene XT from Berkeley.
Right.
They're still the same, pretty much the same formulas out on the market right now, but they're monofilament, and that stretch and that limberness, that limpness of that monofilament will actually help you catch more fish. So I think it's time. I've gone back and I'm fishing a lot more of the good old Trilenes and I'm catching a lot more fish because of it, because it stretches, and because it doesn't pull the hooks free as much as some of the other lines out there today.
Tommy, we got to wrap up the show. Unfortunately, we could talk for another couple of hours. I know we could. Where can people get a hold of you if they want to do that?
If they want to find me, we've got a new thing out, me and a couple of other gentlemen, called Wild, the number 4 Outdoors. Wild 4 Outdoors. It's both on Facebook, or you can find it at wild4outdoors.com. And it's a bunch of fun stuff to do in the outdoors with both your family, your buddies, or by yourself. And it's a great way to be Wild 4 Outdoors.
Okay, Tommy Skarli, thank you again for being with us. And we're going to have to do this again for a lot longer, okay?
Absolutely. You and Lynn are the best.
All right, thanks, Tommy. You and your buddy Ron Linder, you're the best.
Skarli doesn't even hold a candle to me.
All right, thanks a lot, Tommy. And folks, thanks for joining us for another Outdoors This Week. Bye-bye.
Alex Langer, Outdoors This Week.